Thank you. Next item on the agenda is 10.2, deals with a notice of motion in relation to significant rainfall event review. Councillor Jenkins, thank you.
Thank you, Worship. I know that, my motion on notice relates to the rainfall that we had a couple of weeks ago, and
If we just come back and the initial recommendation is to receive the report, and we'll come back and then have a debate for the next motion. That saves people talking twice, if that's okay with you.
If that's what you'd like to do, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, thank you. Are you happy to move to receive the report?
Go ahead.
Yep, thank you. Someone like to second it? Councillor Chigwood, thank you. Any discussion on receiving the report? No discussion. All those in favour? And those against? I remind members you must vote. All those in favour of receiving the report? And those against? Thank you. That's carried. Councillor Jenkins, then go on to the next stage and you can speak to your motion.
Thank you, Worship. Following the significant rainfall event that we had a couple of weeks ago, and also I'm aware that I think this Wednesday is going to be another pretty heavy rainfall day, there was a number of areas of flooding that occurred in Victor Harbour, and I know myself and other elected members had phone calls from public at various times in relation to flooding in the areas. And I'd also like to take this opportunity now to say thank you very much to the staff who I think went above and beyond the call of duty in many instances to inspect houses and help with the flooding and sandbagging. I also am aware that from emails... Sorry, did you...
Sorry, excuse myself, I need to go to the small room. Back in a minute. I know from emails, internal emails, that there were concerns raised in relation to the phone calls logged, after hours phone calls and within hours phone calls, and the action taken as a result of some telephone inquiries. I know that the staff are going to be doing a report in relation to the flooding, but I thought that it would be worthwhile actually having a motion and including the phone calls in that report, and a report into how many phone calls occurred both after hours and during office hours, and the action taken, whether there are any concerns with the after hours emergency number, and how we can make that work better if there are concerns with it, and also look at the areas that do require flood mitigation strategies, and prioritise strategic areas that we may need to look at. And this may also be in line with our climate change adaptation policies and plans, because I think these sort of rainfall events are going to become more common in the future.
Thank you. Someone want to second the motion? Thank you, Councillor Scofield. Do you want to speak to it?
No, look, I agree wholeheartedly with Councillor Jenkins. I did go down to Tabernacle on Monday, but unfortunately I wasn't here for the event. I do know our back veranda got flooded, only minor, but I do agree.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Yes, Councillor Charles?
I'll have a guess at what you've been talking about, and just say that I attended Tabernacle Road along with many other people, and the discussion was along the lines that it was probably near enough to a 1 in 10 flood, and that Encounter waters had overflown and then saturated the areas surrounding, and the boat ramps, or whatever you call it, within Encounter Lakes had risen up in a manner which covered some of the decks, some of the boating decks. Would that be right, Councillor Chigwood, or another name for them perhaps? I see your microphone's on, you might like to help me.
I don't know any boat ramps that were risen up. There was some sand washed away from the boat ramp from the car park into the lake, but that was fixed very successfully the next day by the council staff.
Of course, but what I was advised was that the pontoons, I've got the word now, were covered in some areas of the lakes.
Oh, they were, but that happens sometimes with a high tide.
Oh, indeed it does. And so my point that I'm trying to make is that with the water filling up encounter waters, then spilling into the streets, and then most probably getting its way or making its way, therefore the movement of the sand and so on, into encounter lakes. One of these days we're going to have a massive flood because there'll be a high tide as well. So we do have an absolute urgent need to provide holding dams, or what do you call it, all the way down the hill. Perhaps not so many houses to be built through that paddock area and down Butler Rise direction, but to put, I've lost the word, but the specific engineering is absolutely necessary so that they can have retention ponds, one spilling into another, to slow down the speed of the water. It is really quite concerning how much of our property down here at Victor Harbour is on floodplains. That was a swamp, as you know, all of the Encounter Lakes, and also the area going up near Lord Hobart and that playground where new homes have been built, and they were virtually or so close to being swamped. Admittedly, the one on the other side of the playground area is an older home which is built down well below the road level, but it was up underneath their floor, and luckily no further. So one day the development will be such that something else will be placed there, of course. But it was very interesting when I googled floodplain Victor Harbour, I couldn't find any. Google, evidently being a wonderful medium, you would find where the floodplains are and they'll be shown, but there is no such thing.
Stick to the motion what we're talking about.
Well, I think I'm pretty well on it. I just think that this is a very big matter of urgency, and that we do need to consider it as quickly as possible and get some engineering and reports, not just where the flooding was, but how to solve it. Maybe we've got to look toward city councils like in the northern suburbs where they've done wonderful work with aquifers and this sort of thing. We've got to go for broke and get it right, because we live in the valley and the topography is such that we have lots and lots of floodable areas, and we've got to do something about it now while we still can.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Yes, Councillor Martin.
Yeah, well, I have great concerns. I have great concerns that lots of things in this town seem to have been developed by guesswork rather than actual finding out the facts. I spoke to a number of my neighbours who have been in Victor for 20 or 30 years. They basically said to me that rain event we had the other day wasn't particularly unusual. If you go down to Swains Crossing Road, I've seen the bridge even worse than it was during this event. What concerns me though is the fact that, in good faith, I and a number of other people suggested strongly that the dog park not be put where it is, and we've got pictures of it now under a metre of water. How are we going to fix this problem? Are we going to go and put the dog park back every time?
Point of order, Your Worship. We're not talking about the dog park. Can we just keep this to the specific motion?
Point of order, Your Worship. The dog park was under a metre of water. How can that not have some bearing on this discussion?
Please stick to the motion that we're talking about.
I am sticking to the motion, and Councillor Jenkins needs to learn that if she doesn't like what I'm saying, that's not a point of order.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, well, can someone tell me what we're going to do about the dog park that was under a metre of water?
We're still working on the motion that we're looking at. Thank you.
Your Worship, I move the motion be put.
I'd just like to say one more thing as the person that moved it.
Thank you. We have a motion now. We have a motion that the motion be put. So I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Oh, sorry. Thank you, Councillor Glasbrook. Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. That's carried. Everyone understand the motion? All those in favour of the motion? Those against? Thank you. I would like everyone to at least vote. All those in favour of the motion?